Alrighty, ready?
Yep.
All right. So, welcome to today's edition of Having Fun Inspecting a House in the Rain. I'm Tom Buck. I'm your home inspector from Lewis Home and Building Inspections. I am getting ready to send your email with the report, paid invoice. Thank you for payment via Zelle. Radon letter. Radon was 0.49, so that's nice and low, so that's good. The pest report, he said he found some evidence of termites that has been treated. Neither one of us thought that there was any structural repair needed there. There are some active powder post beetles. Yes, powder post beetles down there. He did give a proposal for treatment of those since they are eating a joist. $600 is, powder post beetle. And he also suggests for preventative measures installing a perimeter bait station system, which is another $650, but he said they would bundle that for $1,100. So that proposal will be in there. They're very good at what they do, so I would recommend considering that. Powder posts don't typically do a lot of damage to joists. Can't remember the last time I saw a powder post. It was actually structural need of repair, but they are active, so you probably don't want to push that and be the first one. So I would get those treated and make them stop. So we are going to go over everything in the order that it's in the report. You want me to, should I go ahead and hit send now?
Sure.
Okay. So let me open that up while it is sending. If I can find your file, I'd be doing great. All right. Now, if I seem a little off today, folks, the weather is working on my inner ear and making me feel not so fantastic. So when you get the report, do read the whole thing. The first 10 pages is mostly checklist. There are some FYIs and just so you knows, and I do want you to catch those things. They're not necessarily items for further evaluation, correction, or repair. They're just things I want you to know. Now, great realtors, such as the one behind the camera over here, she knows it goes straight for page 11, the summary, because that's the meat and potatoes, what you do use to build your due diligence request off of. So, let's see. I'm telling you, the talking to the camera kind of weirds me out, so I feel weird. Sorry, y'all. I'm used to live people not being recorded. So there are things I typically tell people, like not new houses have not new house stuff. There are some things that get taken with a grain of salt. You'll get some of my opinions, and I'm going to cover some of those things as we go along and talk about them. When you read the report, and definitely watch this video if you can before reading the report, because what's going to come out of my mouth is a more realistic, non-sensational, is what it is version, since I'm a 26-year builder and general contractor on top of being a 26-year home inspector. The board's required verbiage is the way the report's written. They basically say, as you inspect for structure, safety, and functions as intended, you state what you see, ramifications, and recommendations in their verbiage. They literally say, if you see this, you say this, and you say it this way. And their verbiage is more catastrophic, sensational, and scary, and I don't really subscribe to it. I don't like it. So what you're going to hear out of my mouth is more of the, if a general contractor was to interpret the report for you and tell you what it really truly means, that's what it's going to be. There are no opinions in the report. They cannot regulate, however, the words that come out of my mouth, so you'll get my opinions. Well, not that you're here to be able to ask, but, before Emily even asks, I'll be giving my opinion. Let's see. Everything does go in the report, whether I think it's a big deal or not, because the board says if you see it, you have to say it. You have to note it. You'll have a pretty firm idea how I feel about the place by the time we're done. Just based off my opinions that like I said, aren't in the report. If you see right or left in the report, it's always looking at the house from the front. It's always right and left. Even if I'm in the backyard, it's still right and left. Let's see. There are pictures in the report. I take pictures of some things, not everything. If I think a picture will help locate, describe, explain, or give an example of what I'm talking about, I'll put it in the report. But if I think a tradesperson, professional, will understand my statement and know what to do, I try and keep it simple and not fill it full of fluff, because it's hard enough to buy a house without the home inspector making it all the more difficult. So what else do I normally say? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, everything goes in the report, whether I think it's a big deal or not, because I don't want the next guy, if you sell the house down the road, to be more sensational, blow something out of proportion. I don't want to get the Tom, why didn't you tell me call. So anyway, let's just get started. If I think of it, I'll start talking about it. We will understand, though, that this is a 1938 house, so it's 86 years old, and not, like I said, not new houses have not new house stuff. So people always freak out about this first thing, but I'm going to say don't freak out, because originally this house wasn't even on a foundation. It was just stacked stone piers all the way around, and at some point they took those out and put in a block foundation to hold the house up. There are actually still some piers underneath the house that are stacked stone, which is really cool to see. I do love the old houses, because I like to see some of the changes and do a little bit of construction forensics on stuff, having been doing this a long time. Anyway, there are some foundation cracks. The visibility of the foundation is a little limited because they've parged over it, which means they've covered it with a layer of concrete, kind of like stucco, and they've painted it. But I could see visibly some cracks in various locations. The foundation looks like it's been enclosed for a long time, so I'm going to say if that's all it's done in this amount of time, it's probably done doing what it's going to do. If you wanted to touch it up with mortar, monitor it over time, paint it. If it cracks again, it's moving, call somebody. If it doesn't, which it probably won't, so be it. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, if it doesn't. But they are potential indications of settlement, so I have to note that. Just like the front porch floor has a couple cracks on it as well, potentially indications of settlement. It's also, an old poured porch. It's been there a long time. Let's see. Also, now I know Emily's got some paperwork on this. She showed it to me. I noted it. It looks like a fairly reasonable repair, but technically, and you got to understand that I've been doing this a long time, and I went to NC State for civil engineering and construction management, and I look at this and it looks good. There are a few things I don't like about the way they did it. There are a lot of new joists down there, that's perfectly fine. But there's also some what I would consider to be improper piers and columns and supports. Normally, if you put a drop girder underneath joist, it has at least 2 columns underneath it. The way they've done it with single steel columns with the girder screwed to the joist. Now, by physics, is it possible that works perfectly fine? Yes, but I think some of those are a little farther spanned. But the work does look good. I don't know. It's probably fine. I'm just being picky. There's also one that I took a picture of where there's some stacked block and a drop girder.
Which one?
This one right here. But this is an old one. And then there's actually one of their repairs right next to it. And I'm trying to figure out which one it was. Actually, Billy, the pest inspector, took most of these pictures just because he used to work for Tar Heel, and he thought
that one.
Yeah, it may be that one. Yeah, you're right, because there's the stacked. So they've got this right next to it, and then there's another one over this way. Yeah, you can actually see some of the stacked stone piers in these pictures. See, right there and right there, there. There's one in the background there. I'm sorry, y'all, if I geek out a little bit on this. This is just really cool. I love inspecting the older homes because you see stuff that you just don't normally see. None of this is probably going anywhere anytime soon, and the company that did it is well known, and they probably warranty their work. So I put it in the report because I have to, but in all honesty, it's probably fine. I'm just being picky. Exterior, the front steps, they put some epoxy coating on there to make it look nicer, and it is slippery when wet. So you might want to, put something on it. Some of it's peeling up anyway.
Maybe something with grit.
Yeah. Get some of that non-slip paint that has the sand mix in it, or you can actually make some and put sand in it, just to have a non-slip surface going down those stairs, because they didn't do you any favors there. And plus, both the handrails as you're going down the stairs, both are loose. Matter of fact, as you're walking down the stairs, the one on the right, it literally comes apart from the post. So when I slipped on the stairs and grabbed that rail, I about took a trip. Anyway, that's fall hazard and should be corrected. Also, the guardrails on the front porch, not that they were even required when the house was built, but the porch is high enough and they're technically not correct fall protection because they don't have pickets and a child could go over the side.
And that's the example right there.
Yeah, right there. Of course, that's in another statement, but yeah, that's a good example of it. That's actually the second set of handrails. You can see where the first set was. They did the siding around it. Let's see. So, item number 2, exterior penetrations of the wall and foundation. And this, y'all, is on every report all the time. So, anything water can follow through. Pipes, wires, vents, conduits, hoses, electrical, windows and doors, in the cladding, transitions of materials, so on and so forth. It should just be silicone sealed around so water doesn't follow it through. Of course, this house is an older house, so it has vinyl siding on one of the parts. That's in addition aluminum siding on the original section, and underneath that siding is the original siding, which is probably wood or potentially asbestos or something like that, which don't freak out about asbestos. And there is a general note in here on the exterior and interior section that, the potential for lead-based paint and asbestos components due to the age, it's possible that it's there, but we don't evaluate for that. So my recommendation with old homes is don't scratch and sniff and don't chew the chips. Asbestos doesn't hurt you as long as you don't bother it and make it dust and inhale it. Of course, this house has been so thoroughly renovated that if you actually found some lead-based paint and asbestos in the house, I'd be surprised. Most of it looks like newer trim, newer paint. The whole place honestly looks like it at one point was probably taken down to the studs. So there's probably not anything left inside the house. Maybe outside, but not so much inside, if I had to guess. But anyway, sealing up things so water doesn't go through and do damage. But like I said, there's probably 2 layers of cladding on the outside, so that'd be kind of difficult to do. And if there are some pictures that turned out blurry on the exterior sections, it was raining profusely at the time, and it probably focused on a drop. You can see right here, I've got by the front door picture, and no, not the front door, the back door, and it looks terrible because I guess a raindrop at the optics caught that on the camera and blurred the picture, and I didn't realize. Let's see, exterior wood and painted components. There's not much left. Most everything's covered, but there is some exposed wood at the back door. And it's a little rotten. That may be some of the old cladding, and they didn't cover that because the deck was built against it. Didn't see anything on the inside that led me to believe there was anything coming through. Well, there is some moisture on either side of the back door on the interior, but we'll get to that on the interior section. Yeah, I would just check that area, whatever it needs to seal that up, paint it, caulk it, maybe even cover it with metal would be a good idea. Let's see, and the deck, not that I could get a good look at it, is surrounded by some really thin hold lattice to where I couldn't get much of a look through it. Definitely couldn't get under the deck. But the deck is a little weathered and technically substandard construction. Didn't see any flashing between the deck and the house floor structure, which is basically the weatherproof material that keeps water from going into the floor system. And I was not able to verify whether or not it was properly bolted to the structure, mostly because the lattice was in my way. So, but it is rough enough to where I would probably have somebody do evaluation of it and just repair whatever needs to be fixed. Shouldn't be too awful bad. Roof doesn't look too bad. Did they disclose how old it was?
I can't remember. Maybe just a couple of years old.
Yeah, it looks, well, it's really hard to tell with the rain, but it looks really good.
Okay.
The roof boots for the plumbing vent pipes, they usually tell the tale. They look newer. So the good news is the roof looks significantly newer. Not that there's an actual use for the chimney flue now, but it doesn't look like it has a proper cap on it. This house used to be oil heat. It's now a heat pump. And you really don't have any access to that chimney anymore. Actually, it probably was originally a wood stove to heat the whole house. That's probably what it was. Once again, really cool old home. So yeah, I would put a proper cap on that chimney, and it doesn't have to be ventilated at all because it's not exhausting anything. So it could be just a permanent metal cap on it, just to prevent water entry and damages. There's also a good amount of debris on the roof and in the gutters, especially in the rear. I would have all that cleaned off just to prevent backups and damages. And once it's cleaned off, make sure that there's no damage from any limbs that have fallen. I did not see any staining on the ceiling, and we have certainly had enough rain in the past, weeks that I would probably see something if there was. This is something I was discussing with Emily when she got here. The attic doesn't have proper ventilation. Now, the reason for that is this house was originally a metal roof. So you had rafters, and then you had 2x4s going across in strips, and that was what they secured the metal roof to. And that allows for the attic to self-ventilate. Well, once you take off the metal roof and you put OSB sheathing over it and put, newer conventional roofing methods on it, you've now lost all your ventilation. Now, the reason why you want a roof to ventilate and attic to ventilate is if there's no ventilation, it can hold moisture, it can hold heat, it can reduce the life of the shingle, it just gets hot up there and just burns up the shingles. So you could probably have somebody put ridge vent on it. I'm actually surprised they didn't put it on there when they redid the roof. It's not a lot of soffit, maybe a couple of gable vents, one on either end and some ridge vent. That would probably give it reasonable ventilation. It's not a lot of attic.
Would a fan be enough or no? Like installing some version of an attic fan?
It's a really shallow attic up there. It's so shallow it would probably suck the blown insulation out of the vent. It would be snowing in the backyard. Sorry, y'all. I just get things, a picture in my head, and it's just funny to me. Let's see, but yeah, not a lot to say about the roof. In all honesty, everything I could see looked pretty good. I obviously wasn't walking the roof today, not that we're allowed to. OSHA says no, we don't have the proper fall protection, but we do look at it from the ground with zoom lenses. And there's no way to get up in the attic. It's just too small. There's no platform. You definitely don't have any storage up there. Let's see.